universe cause the decision if you take a determinist view? What made that happen? Okay, let's just keep going back. Let's kick it back.
You know, you can't even explain morality. Morality is
that's going to be a separate thing too.
If free will does not exist.
That's
because nobody.
I didn't say it doesn't, right?
Hey, Andrew, maybe we could get some other speakers involved here.
Go ahead, Tobias.
Sorry, what's up? I was wondering if it's if a choice is free and it flows, for example, from the person's internal states, even if those states have prior causes, isn't that still representative of free will?
Yeah. So if it's from prior states and it's causal, then no, because what libertarian free will is saying is that there is no internal or external antecedent conditions that bring about the decision. It is a completely independent decision. As far as, I'm not saying there's not influences. I'm not saying that there's not reasons to act. People do act on reasons. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying there is nothing causal that determines that decision. That's the libertarian free will stance. What you have to say, if you think that it is determined, if you think that something in the person or external to the person, something in the universe, whatever it is, some chain of natural causes brings about the decision that the human makes, okay, well, let's work back up that chain. Let's keep going. Where does that stop? And at some point, you're going to run into some kind of brute. You're going to run into some kind of thing that you aren't going to be able to explain why it is the case, that that's the way it is rather than something else, or give some kind of explanation for. We're both going to have a bottom-out effect. I'm just bottoming out right at the person. I'm saying right where they make their decision. That's where I stop. Okay? There isn't anything that explains why they made their. You can cite the reasons they made the decision that they made, but that does not mean that those reasons caused it. That's what the view says. These reasons are not causal. If I choose Pepsi over Coke, and you say, why did you choose Pepsi? And I say, well, I like Pepsi. Okay, cool. I gave you a reason why I chose Pepsi over Coke. But from the libertarian free will stance, my liking Pepsi over Coke did not cause me to choose Pepsi. I chose based on reasons and just actualized the decision. That's me choosing. And there's no explanation prior to that.
Yeah,
you don't go any further.
Andrew, dude.
Yeah, dude, what?
It was your liking that caused you to choose.
That's my whole point. I'm denying that. It's not a reason.
How can you deny that, though?
Yeah, because reasons are not causal. Because I can.
Because you can like something and choose something else that you don't like.
That's right. It's not. You can have. Look, you can have a list of 38 reasons to eat pancakes, and I can just choose to eat feces instead. Okay, I can do that.
Golly, Andrew.
What's that?
Forget it.
It's gross, but I'm saying I could choose to do it. The point is I
love pancakes today. I ate oatmeal today instead.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you ate.
I don't like oatmeal.
Seneca, you're too wealthy for that, brother. Don't do that.
It's healthier.
Yeah, it's healthier. Yeah, right.
Yeah, so there was something convincing you to eat the oatmeal.
It's a reason to act, but it's not causal. That's the whole point. Reasons are not causal. It's agent causation. So the agent is what caused the decision. I caused it. You could always kick it back up if you're a theological determinist. If you think God determines all decisions, then just say, why did God make that decision?
I'm not a God determinist.
No, I know you're not. You're an atheist.
There are antecedents that are occurring prior to you making that decision. That's why.
Yeah, and where did those antecedents stop, JCC?
What do you mean, where do they stop?
Okay, you keep going. Do you believe in a past eternal universe?
God wanted to experience God. Can that not be the reason? Like, Source wants to experience Source.
Yeah, so.
Like, what is your problem with that? Like, why do you always have to, like, make it like a bloody fairy tale?
A fairy tale.
You can add a little sophistication to the model.
You're adding
by just saying God wanted to experience God.
Yeah,
and that's the reason why. Like, through you.
Narcissists don't believe God experiences.
Of course God experiences.
So God has a mind?
thing is all love, right?
He's outside of
Experiences
time.
does not have
Well,
to.
Seneca,
See, this God mind BS, right? Like this thing, like you're used to just one particular model.
Yeah, well,
He's personifying God. That's what
Yeah.
she doesn't.
And he can't say I don't think God is supposed to.
She doesn't believe in God. She doesn't believe in God. That it's interesting.
I don't believe in a man God. No, I don't believe in a person God.
She thinks that murder and rape and things like that are bad, right? That they don't align with the good. But the conception of God that she has is something like source. Okay, so it doesn't really even. There's no call.
Pure existence, right? That's it.
This is the key.
Okay, so what's the problem with that?
Well, I'm going to
Just because it doesn't have the bells and jingles.
This is the key dividing line.
How does the source experience?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, does it have a mind? Is it self-aware? And if she wants to say yes, then it starts.
That's the language Andrew understands. How else do you want me to explain
But
to him?
Nargis, you're blending two. Look, is it the case that the God, you don't like calling him he because you're very into egalitarian, anti-patriarchal,
No, because gender is a thing. It's dependency. Like still shows need, right?
No, it doesn't. What?
Okay, they.
Yeah, they zer.
Is.
Yeah. So God.
The isness of things.
Yeah. So God being the creator, the leader, the provider, okay, the head of everything. Yeah, sounds pretty masculine.
Keep adding the attributes.
Yeah, all those adjectives.
Keep adding it, but bells and jingles. Go on.
But Nargis, all those adjectives, those are masculine adjectives, and I don't think that there's any problem with referring to God, because what is gender? What is this idea of masculinity and femininity? It's like an expression of your nature, of what it is that you have been created as, what you are born with. Well, God has a particular nature, and he is in fact a God that's going to judge, a God that is going to punish, a God that is protective. He is also a leader. He creates. It's like he spoke and things came into being.
I create for a living.
Yeah.
The Supreme Court judge in my city is a woman.
Okay, but he spoke and brought things into being.
The problem is not being hating patriarchy.
By speaking.
It's showing dependency when you say he needs gender, right? He doesn't. For me, I've shaved off so much.
I don't
that all that remains is pure existence.
I'm just talking about the reason he's a he. Saying when God speaks and he says, "Let there be light," he something comes out of him and creates life. Something comes out of him. Something comes out.
Light only comes out of men.
Comes out.
Boys emit light.
Can we say Zim?
Yeah, we can say Zim.
Only boys emit light.
No, women have children, but the point is they're not emitting something out of external to their body. But I'm saying that
there would be no man without the woman. You understand?
Yeah, I understand. Well, no, because God created.
Let's talk about timeshare maintenance.
But
timeshares love it
something
because they
external to
increase
God.
clockwork.
He creates. He pushes out. And you have excuse for the crude, analogy.
Gentleman on the right
ejaculating.
is David Camden, the son
oh
of Mordecai Hendricks.
So you take all of this together. The protective, the punishing, the judging, the provider. He slays an animal and covers Adam and Eve with the skin, which is actually a prefiguring of Christ. It's absolutely awesome. All of that is masculine, and there's nothing wrong.
Gender
traits
There's nothing wrong with God saying, I'm a he. And since I'm like you liberals, and I got the pink hair, and I got the dye coming, since I'm like you liberals, I honor people's personal pronouns. So when God says, I'm a he, I accept that.
So God has XY chromosomes? Is that what it is?
We're not gonna do that, but I'll tell you.
If he's not a he, is he then not God? If he's not a man, then is he not God?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm
That
saying
he needs to be a man to be God.
In order to limit our
he doesn't need to be
I'm showing no dependency by removing gender, right?
The second person of the Trinity did not have to become a man. However, he chose because that's right. And because he loved us, he incarnated as a man. And to be quite frank with you, I think that would be a very odd thing, very off-putting and strange, to have him incarnate as a woman
Why?
and try to lead 12 men or 12 women and turn the world upside down. Very strange.
Why?
Because that is not the paradigm that God has created. Starting with Adam, starting with him being the head over Eve, starting with her being a part of his side, to be by his
that's
side.
just ancient human patriarchy. I don't know why you think
Yeah,
God would need
it's
to,
funny.
like fall in line.
It's just
I
pagan models have this.
Yeah. So when it says that,
But the matriarchy is also nice and
Eve was created to be and I know women just balk at it. It's just but.
Hi, Andrew. If you could put me in your queue, I'd like to say something. Thank you very little, Andrew, for hyperverbalizing for the past 20 minutes.
So
that's my offense.
So, I'll hear your offense. So, woman was created to be the helpmate of man, the helpmate. Now, they don't like that. A lot of people don't like that. It's very, that's sexist. Whatever. Well, fish off with your sexism claim. It's just stupid. It is just a complementarian view.
But how did the woman actually separate from the man? And was the original Adam a transvestite?
Well, you might be a transvestite, but I still allow you on stage. Go ahead, Seneca.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, why would God come in the form of a woman, considering the cultural context of the time, right? And the role that women and men played in that society. It would not make sense considering the fact that you're supposed to have a spiritual stewardship,
right?
And essentially be a shepherd to sheep, right?
Right, and as a result, I mean, the reason folks are like that is because it all stems from the structure that God had set up from the beginning anyway. If you look at
the spiritual structure,
right,
Eve from Adam's structure.
That's right. And what did he say? And this is so fascinating, and so many people don't know about this verse. I tell you, if you only believed in the Adam and Eve story, guys, it would illuminate so much. I just tell you, in Genesis, when it's so right there explicitly, God is saying, "You will desire."
Well, feminists really fucked that up for us.
So from then on, you have this.
That's why you have to control, whether man or woman.
You have a constant.
I don't know what point you're proving with
the point is there's a usurping that women continually try to do over.
It's a grasping and a usurping.
There's feminism, which is taken off and is pervasive. And there's men who are feminists and they support this whole agenda. And then you got the women with the short hair who drive the Subarus. And
seriously, I never would have expected you to take a mean position.
Well, it's not mean. This isn't mean. This is just the case. This is a curse.
Andrew, because he's lonely. He's here because he doesn't have a girlfriend.
So let's just be clear. But he shall rule over you. Now, men can rule over women brutally and wrongly. It's not good.
No, they can't. It's against the law.
I'm not saying that this
can also lead better than men.
I disagree with that. I mean, it can't happen. Yeah. So here's the deal. I think if we would add a female president, praise God, that didn't happen. But if we'd had a female president,
thank God.
I think it would have been disastrous for foreign relations. I think it would have been absolutely bad.
Should have been drinking vodka martinis all night long while Tim Waltz was pederasting.
From Genesis to Revelation, basically. I mean, Revelation we have to talk about where it would be in there. But God sets up a structure. It's God. It's the Son. It's this. Then it would be the father of the household, the head of the household, the man. Then it would be the wife. She would be the helpmate or the helper.
It's like the nuclear family.
And then it would be the children. And that is the hierarchy set up that is from the beginning of the Bible.
Is that a symbol?
The New Testament. Now that's never subverted. And if you notice, there's the 12 tribes of Israel, which are men.
It's like the Simpsons.
Parallel in the New Testament is the 12 apostles.
Is Homer God the Father? Bart Jesus?
Hold on, Congress. I love you, buddy, but hold on. And then you have God appointing certain elders and deacons and whatnot, and he says you are to be the husband of one wife. So he's saying that you must be. That it's right there, just implicit.
Is the church the wife?
Now there is, and then women are told in the New Testament that if you're married, that you obey your husbands, and that used to be in the marriage vows. When people give their vows, women would say to their husband, they would say, "I promise to obey you." Now that has been removed from most vows. Most people don't say that anymore.
No.
But I'll tell you, historically, that is God has set up from the beginning of time. Adam and Eve there was a
Does
first.
God the Father have a wife?
It's okay, Congress. You're okay, buddy. It was Adam and then Eve and then all of the male patriarchs, and then you'll have some exceptions. But here's what's interesting. That is a judgment.
There's matriarchs too.
Hold on, brother. Hold on. I'll have to move you down, Congress. You can't stop. So when God said, "Hey,"
when do you stop?
All right, it's okay. When God says, "Hey, you need to lead the nation," and if you don't do it, then women will rise up, and that's a curse. That's not good. When the women are rising
then
up,
they start the Amazon Corporation.
Okay, Congress. All right, buddy. I'm gonna pull up the screen.
They ride on horses with long hair, naked.
Hold me down, buddy. All right, hold on. Give me just a second. One more second. We find you real quick. All right, Congress. Love you, bud. All right, peace be upon you. Okay, so when you see women take like Deborah, there's a few exceptions, not many, very few. When you see that, it is a judgment against Israel. It's not good. It is because the men are sitting there playing Xbox in ancient Israel. Okay, they're just booting up their computers and they're playing games and they're being passive, and they're not doing what they should do. They are not being the leaders that they ought to be, and they're not working with God. They're doing their own thing.
Great.
And so women rise up because God will use what He needs to make things happen. But it is not the best. It is not what God originally intended. So generally speaking, the pattern, the overwhelming example, precedent that is set in Scripture is male leadership, over and over again. And when the women and the children rise up, where the children start ruling the parents, the children rule the parents. It talks about that in the Old Testament. Absolutely fascinating. The children rule the parents.
Yeah, the women and children are just to be spoils of war. We get it, Andrew.
No, that's going to be a contrast. We can talk about that. But when you have the children, that's going to be, and I appreciate that take, and we'll get into it, Andrew, because I'll just say this. When you have 5-year-olds telling their shut the F up, like I just saw.
Andrew, I don't even know why you would bring that up. I don't think
you kill Christianity.
I don't think anybody that's like disagreeing with your extreme patriarchy is going to agree that children should be allowed to do that kind of thing. I don't know what all
it is how to do it. It's like when I was over with my friend. I have a friend named Jeremy, right? He has a younger brother named Dominic. I don't mind, kind of whatever. Okay, so Dominic's like, I don't know, 13, right? There's no dad in the house. I can't remember what. I think she divorced him or whatever. So she's alone, right? The mother is. She's telling the kid, hey, you need to get your homework done. You haven't done your homework. You've been playing, you're a really big kid. He just sits and plays video games all day, eats pizza, cheese bread, stuff like that, right? She's like, you need to do your homework. I'm at their house, right? I hear him yell at the top of his lungs, shut the F up, Mom, or I'll call the effing cops.
Yeah, you ever see what happens in a black household, a single mother black household, when a kid does that? You ever see? The kid gets the living shit slapped out of him. That's what happens.
Well, I'll just tell you, I think that's that's not correct. That's not the right way to handle that. But
there are some instances where I would think that teenage kids need to be slapped once in a while.
I'm glad to hear that you're at least you can just the amount of rebellion and arrogance and disgusting attitude that comes out of a child who thinks they know better and will down talk the parents who birthed them and care for them and wipe their.
Andrew, I don't even know why. Do you think you're saying something new? Do you think
No.
something
I don't know
that humanity hasn't experienced for hundreds and thousands of years? Children can be little shits.
Some people
that's just human children.
Well, I'm glad you understand that. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't. But I'm still going to say this. So, they take no consideration or appreciation for the fact that their parents, lost tons of sleep when they cried all night, wiped their bottoms, did all this stuff, right? And dealt with
that's the nature of a child.
And then
you've been rambling for so long. I don't even know what you're trying to say.
It's not a child that is like that. The Freudian it sets in. The identity sets in.
Look, when you pop into existence, it's all about you. You cry, you don't care about what's going on. You don't care about the labor.
You were that child one time.
I agree with that, Nargis. I'm
They're
aware
not
of that.
bad. Ontologically, that's just the nature of a child.
So people, the only existence
God.
the only thing that you care about is you. And so as you grow up, you're supposed to be trained out of that. Your parents should discipline you out of that. Unfortunately, there was no father in the home. The woman was a pushover, and I watched this happen, and the child ruled his mother. And this is exactly what the scripture says in the Old Testament, that when the children are ruling the parents. It's a curse. It means the parents have given up their authority over running a household in a godly manner and training their children, and now their children are little demons.
Okay, Andrew.
What do you think about the fact that the Epstein list just
what did you think was gonna happen? And I told you, they said, I have a video I didn't show you, I showed Oscar. The lawyer that was trying Epstein said the only person that would help him back in 2009 or 2019 or something like that, I forget which year, but he said was Donald Trump. He said everyone else they called would not help. No one had any answers, or he said Donald Trump cooperated 100%. Because Donald only people, even back in the 80s and 90s,